Hi, I'm Howard Ain. For more than 50 years, I've been a TV reporter and anchor at TV stations around the country. Most recently, I've been a consumer reporter and investigative reporter at a TV station in Cincinnati, Ohio. On this edition of Up to Date with Kate, I'll be speaking not only with Polo General Manager Kate Berry, but also with Club President Joel Kaye. Incidentally, we're kind of a little apart, but we all have been tested and do not have the COVID-19 virus. In addition, I have some antibodies. So let's begin the conversation by asking Joel about the just approved budget for fiscal year 2021. Can you tell me, Joel, about the approval process and the high level of assumptions that you had to make?
Sure. This year's process, the process itself is better than ever, certainly in the 5-6 years that I've been here. We engaged the Finance Committee, which was a really good committee this year, to be intimately involved in that process. We brought each department head once a week, one of them a week, into a meeting to go over their budget, not just submit it. We took a very critical look at every line item that was significant. We just did not want to do what we did in the past, which was have the department heads submit a budget, and then the board approves it after they knock down a few percent. We end up with 2 or 3% increase. There was no rhyme or reason for that other than trying to control the dues. We took a deeper dive on this to try to make sure that these numbers are as accurate as they can be. Unfortunately, this particular year, we don't believe they're going to be accurate. There's so many assumptions that were made because of the situation we're in, but we at least wanted to have a flexible enough budget that if we are more open, which we hope, there's enough in there to cover the overhead of being more open, and if we're not as open, we'll probably have a surplus, but we tried to make sure that overall we can handle any and all situations, probably with the exception of being fully functional. If that's the case, we will have a deficit at the end of next year, and I would love it, because that means that we are back to normal and we have plenty of reserves to cover any deficit that we have.
Well, clearly, it is a very difficult process in this pandemic year. But what about the dues? Tell me, are they going up, down?
Historically, the dues have always gone up a couple of percent. Not so sure that they should have, but they did. And we have accumulated operating reserves because of that, because at the end of the year, we typically have had a surplus. This particular year that we're in, where we began to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars per month after this thing started, and we made the changes, we totally flipped that around, and financially we're having the best year ever.
So how does that translate to the people watching this?
There's a net $30 a month, $360 for the year reduction in your social dues. It's made up actually of two components, a $60 reduction per month on the social side and a $30 per month increase on the CAM charges for a net $30 a month reduction. Both golf and tennis are flat. There's no need to increase. They've done a great job in trying to maintain their income levels, and they have. So there's no changes there. But overall, in conclusion, there is a $360 a year reduction in overall dues.
May I add one thing about the budget process, which I don't know that we've touched on, and that is one of the strong philosophies that we had as we were crafting this budget, and Joel knows this because he was part of the conversations, is that we really want to make sure we're positioned to have very strong recovery from these pandemic conditions. We want to be in a position when the minute we are out of this crisis, we can come back and be strong
Big
and
party.
be polo. And yes, we're coining the phrase burn the mask party. And we really want to make sure that we've got the club in a great place to have an exciting and really polo great next season.
I can't wait.
That's an important part of the philosophy of doing the budget.
Great. Kate, can you give us an update on some of the upcoming events that we have here at the club, such as the opening party?
I think that, as Joel just said, the budgeting process was difficult, and we tried very hard to make good decisions around what we can do. And as I've told the members multiple times, first and foremost, it's always safety. And so we are going to look at how we can do great events and great activities in a very safe way. We did budget for a number of events, and I believe that we are going to be able to do a lot of things. They won't look exactly like they've looked in the past because we've got so many requirements and restrictions that we need to adhere to. But we are full steam ahead with trying to do things, again, with the overarching message of doing them safely.
But safe to assume there won't be an opening party.
Well, specifically about an opening party, I don't want to answer that right now because I don't think we know exactly what we will be able to do and when we'll be able to do things. Fluid is the word that we all use. This is an ever-changing dynamic. I believe that we're really excited about the upcoming Havana night, and that will be our first sort of dabble in the world of doing events. It's outdoors, it's at the pool, and it's going to be about 150 people. So that will be...
Because the Peking Duck Night was fabulous.
We loved the Peking Duck, but that was under 100 people because of the social distancing. We loved using the Crown Room, we loved using the terrace, and we had people spread out, but that was a smaller number. This Havana event is going to truly be our first event with 150 people. So that will allow us to experiment and will be very telling as to what we can do in the future. So maybe that's a long answer to, I don't know at this point.
But I like the menu.
What events are going to look like. But we're trying, and maybe that's the overarching summary statement, which is we are trying lots of different things with the goal and the objective to give our members as much of an experience as we possibly can, given the restrictions that the state and the county and the pandemic have placed on us.
I understand one of those things coming up is a video event from the Saturday Night Live comedy writer.
Yes, Alan Zweibel, and we need to give a thank you to our social committee. They had booked him as a speaker, a presentation, and he's done it virtually. So we recorded it last week, and it will be on our new events page on the website, I think sometime next week. But yes, he was one of the original comedy writers for Saturday Night Live, and I understand the presentation is great.
It was very interesting. Very good. All right. Now, while we're on the topic of limited services, please tell me what the club is able to do during this pandemic in the way of club services. Because some are saying, gee, are we trying to save money? What's going on here?
Thank you again for that question, Howard. And I think many people who have talked to me know that I have a number of members who say to me, Kate, you're doing too much. And I have a number of members who say, Kate, you're not doing enough. And we're really trying to find that balance. But it's not about saving money. We always want to be fiscally responsible, absolutely. But our objective is to do things safely. And that's what's driving the decisions. And sometimes members have a suggestion that we'd love to embrace, but it strictly goes against the guidelines and the regulatory requirements that we have to honor the county and the state. So we want to do things the Polo way. That's what drives us every day as hospitality professionals. But in many cases, we simply can't because of the pandemic and, again, the overarching goal to keep people safe.
All right. Well, Joel, as part of the budgeting process, you and the governors did approve several capital projects, such as a children's activity center and the Barefoot Cafe. Tell me.
Well, every year, every month, every member pays $85 a month towards capital. That's about $3.7 million. We spend more than that just on normal repairs, replacements, new equipment, and the bulk of the capital projects, the larger ones, come from the accumulation of joining fees. We've always had capital projects 1 year, 3 years, 5 years out. Again, historically, what would happen is they would approve a certain number for a particular project without having architects' drawings, without having engineers, without having a lot of things. And what would happen is they get approved, they get started, we'd go over budget. That has ended. So we have approved hundreds of thousands of dollars just for planning, engineering, drawings. We want to engage the membership in these things. So on this year's budget, there may not be anything in there for the barefoot or the CAC or steeplechase or anything else, but it is there. It's there because we've allocated the funds to do it right and to do it once, not twice or 3 times. As it relates to the barefoot, that is our largest area for open dining. Okay, we need to get that open as soon as possible. We need to be open for lunch, we need to be open for dinner, and next winter, when the weather's good again, we certainly need it to be one of our major dining venues. That one's pretty easy. Okay, we sort of know what to do there.
Really?
I actually met with Kate and the chef and Lily and Greg Smith yesterday to discuss steeplechase. So we've allocated $5 million to do a refresh on the clubhouse. I think it's 2024.
Yes, 2024.
We can't wait. We'll use part of that money that's already sitting there in terms of what year it is, but we're going to start using it now. And instead of making a fix of steeplechase, which is what we've done in the past again, I wanted to look at everything from Winner's Circle all the way through American Bistro and say, here's our space. What can we do with it? We have 3 restaurants. Let's get professionals in here now.
Take a fresh look at it.
Let's start planning this. That's why I had the chef involved, because I know the buffet line isn't the right way. And however, once that's done and approved, the first project of that would be the steeplechase, as opposed to just putting a coat of paint and new chairs and say we did steeplechase. That doesn't work. Right. So you mentioned the CAC. A couple of years ago, there was an approval for about $300,000 to change the kiddie pool into a splash pool. By the time the numbers actually came in to do that, it was $950,000. That's why we stopped. Again, I said, instead of looking at that by itself, let's look at the basketball court, the activity center, the kiddie pool area, the whole complex, because I'm not going to spend $900,000 for a kiddie pool, but I don't care if we spend $2 million to fix the whole thing. Again, different kind of planner, different kind of engineer, different kind of architect. That process for all of these things have started. Okay, we're not quite there yet. Of course, the first one we'll deal with is the barefoot. And then we'll go on from there.
Any idea when the barefoot would get started?
Hopefully yesterday. So we're waiting for some sonic equipment to have the birds fly in, and they hear it and they fly right back out. And as soon as we think that works, we'll start the process.
Interesting.
Maybe I can pipe in a little bit, just to aspects of how I'd like to follow up on Joel's comments. One, we are laying the foundation to get the barefoot open earlier than we have in past years. So Chef and Lily and I are talking, and we certainly think that we'll be able to get it open probably right after Labor Day. And we are hoping that it will be a more bird-free environment, and that's the objective. The second comment that I'd just like to add is that we're truly excited that Joel and the board have this vision to look very holistically at our upcoming renovation work, and to really use industry experts, to really use architects and other professional resources to look and do projects starting with concepts and what's the complement of amenities and features that the Polo Club needs for moving thoughtfully into the future. And the reason I wanted to add in a little bit is that we'll look for member input and member engagement as we embark on these projects and using these outside professional resources. So I want the members to know that it will be a collaborative project.
And good to see that you're not committed to the same thing. You're taking a look at the whole area.
Yeah.
That's
Correct.
That's really good. All right. You know, personnel changes often happen, and this pandemic is not unusual with that. Please tell me, Kate, what kind of recent leadership changes have you had here? And how's staff morale holding up?
Well, thank you, Howard. That is a great question, and I appreciate the opportunity to address it. We are truly proud and excited for a number of our leaders who have gotten some great opportunities at other clubs, and it's opened up a pathway for leaders here. We have outstanding directors and department heads, and they've had some supporting managers who have been tapped and allowed to grow their careers and get promotions out and about Palm Beach County. And we're proud of them, and we're excited for them, and we think that it is just wonderful. It's a great story for Polo that we are a nurturing environment that grows careers and gives people that opportunity for their professional aspirations. And as I just said, it also opens up the door for opportunities within the ranks here. So it's a great story that Polo professionals are going out and supporting other clubs. And we're proud, and we thank them for their years of service, and we thank them for all that they've done to make Polo great. The other part of that story is that there's some amazing talent out in the hospitality ranks. We have been really amazed with the experience and the overarching talent of candidates who are interested in joining the Polo team. And so we think that we will soon be welcoming new, fresh faces who are excited to be a part of creating excellence at the Polo Club. So I think it's a great story. As for morale, we certainly need everyone to help with the thank yous and the support and the recognition, because everyone is working hard, differently, but hard. And these are such uncertain times, and everyone personally and professionally is a little unmoored with this pandemic. So I hope to support and create a positive morale for the team. And I hope that the members can assist with the thank yous and the recognition and the appreciation for the work that's done every day.
Okay. Do you have any idea? You probably do. What are your biggest challenges here at the club since you've been here? You seem to be doing such a great job.
Well, thank you, Howard. I think there's one big challenge, and that's this pandemic. Mm-hmm. I said it a moment ago. We're working differently. It's hard, and it's a different kind of hard. I can't wait for the day that we are beyond this and we can truly create memories and create experiences and create opportunities and get back to the Polo lifestyle. That's what I hope for, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And like the rest of the world, I just want to get past this pandemic. So that's clearly the biggest challenge.
Right. Now, after coming in from the Ritz-Carlton with all the wonderful experiences that you get there, do you feel anything is missing here at the club that you'd like to bring from those experiences at the Ritz-Carlton?
That's a good question. I think that anyone who has studied a little bit about the Ritz-Carlton, and there are a number of books out, knows that it is an organization that is founded with some core philosophies and some real tenets in service and hallmarks around service. And the culture is all about taking care of one another, taking care of each other, taking care of members, taking care of guests, taking good care. And that's at the core of what hospitality is all about. And so I think that as I embark on this journey, I can do a better job of infusing a culture of hospitality and making sure that our team is all moving in the same direction in terms of taking care of our members and creating consistency. And consistency comes from that deeply steeped culture of hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where I look forward to working and maybe making a difference.
Okay. Now you've had a couple of months working together with Joel. How are things going? Have you meshed well?
I think so.
I'm thrilled. I know she's the right person. We're going to get to even a higher level than we've been, and I enjoy all my meetings with Kate and the phone calls and the emails and the texts, and we seem to be both on the same page in terms of the direction we want to take. So it's been actually very easy.
Right, so on the same path.
I think so.
Good. Any final thoughts about this pandemic? We just had a lot of testing at the club, and so far people are negative for COVID-19.
Yes, and I'm not sure if Joel's got some additional comments, but our pandemic task force has been in touch with the Alliance group, which did the testing, and it would appear, the last I was told, that there's an overwhelming part of our population that is negative. I've not been told that we have any positive cases as of right now, but I think that there's still more of the testing to be evaluated.
Okay.
And I know members are concerned because they've not received any communication.
Right.
And I would remind members that the plan was phone calls to individuals who tested who tested positive, and there will be written communication for those who were negative, and that will be a sort of protracted period. But maybe, Howard, I could use this question to remind members to please wear masks. Please, please, please wear masks. We've been trying to reinforce that message at every opportunity, and then, of course, the physical distancing that's so important. But lastly, maybe I'd like to put in a plug for members who do test positive to give us the opportunity to share their names, because we know that members do try to help us with the contact tracing and share with us who they've interacted with. But sometimes it's hard to remember going back 10 days or 14 days. So we really are encouraging members to publicly allow us to share their names so that we can help the community be as safe as we possibly can. So with that, again, we're proud of what we've done. We're proud that our mission is to keep people safe, and we seem to be doing a good job with that. And we thank people for working with us and understanding some of the challenges that we have in delivering excellence in this pandemic climate.
All right. Joel, anything you'd like to add to?
Yeah, sure. When this started, it seemed to be a novelty. We didn't know what was going to happen. And now it's a way of life, at least for a period of time. And so there's been a vocal minority who would like to see this club pretty much shut down because they're concerned and scared. And I get it. That's not going to happen. There's also a vocal minority that wants us to be totally open like it was. That can't happen either. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Our first obligation is the safety of the membership. And we're trying to balance that with what we can and cannot do. Part of it is we have no control. The state is telling us what to do. A simple thing like you can't get a soda at the stations near the driving range, but you can get water. It makes no sense, but that's the way it is, and we have no control over that. So I think we really are doing a good job. I was thrilled to hear that the first 650 people over the first week, everybody was negative. Of course, there's some people who may be positive who didn't take the test. And it does seem that almost everybody who does get it, it's coming from outside vendors, outside aides, but the people here are taking care of themselves, and we know that this is the way we have to live for a while. I've been involved in many organizations, and over the years took a leadership position in those organizations, and I've always did it for a reason, that I love the organization. I needed to give something back, and I feel responsible. In this case, somewhat I feel responsible for close to 3,000 people. I feel terrible that we're in this position, but I want to assure everybody that the whole board, pretty much this board, is on the same page, that we're all working to try to do everything for the members as opposed to not. I want to also go back to a particular issue. When this started, we always take care of our employees. And we had people at home, not working, that we paid out close to $1 million. And then we started getting some real numbers of what was happening. We had to make significant changes. We did. Kate did an unbelievable job in facilitating that, because members don't realize that to do what we do here, it's not just $35 million in dues. It's another $15 million, $20 million in other revenues coming from guest fees and banquets and our food and beverage. And that generates a lot of gross profit to pay for the overhead that we have. That was stopping. So we had to make the adjustments, and we did, and we did it swiftly. We cut out some services that weren't critical, especially since no one was here, like valet parking, and certainly our utilities were down, and other expenses were down. And the loss of gross margin that we would have received, we 110% covered it by those reductions, which is why we're in such good position financially, which is why this club is in a terrific financial position going forward, and which is why we can do what we want to do to do those projects.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, Howard, we could close with a reminder to our members to stay healthy and thank you for all you do to support us.
Right. Well, this has been a great edition of the Kate Show.